A 13-year-old from Liverpool talked his mum into letting him go to the FA Cup semi-final. She had a gut feeling. He went anyway.
She had a bad feeling something wasn't right.
And what happened to him that day would take 37 years to fully understand.
This was just chaos. Like, you've never seen that. Like, it was just like, wow, what is going on here?
Unable to breathe, a stranger made a split-second decision.
He got his arm up and just literally just threw me up like this. All the Liverpool fans passed me over, to a wall.
The man who pulled him over that wall, he wouldn't find out his identity for 37 years.
When I was watching the evidence, the police officer was actually David Duckenfield. It was actually the match commander. That was the guy I was handed to over the wall.
This is his story, Graeme Banfield, the boy over the wall.
Hello humans, welcome to the M-Word podcast, brought to you by Martin, that's me.
And Tim, that's me.
That's him. Tim, special guest today, thank you for joining us. A Liverpool fan as well, so quite appropriate for this conversation. We're joined by Graeme today, thanks for joining us, Graeme.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, appreciate it.
Pleasure. We're going to chat about your book, The Boy Over the Wall, which is here we've got in our hands and here behind me, self-published.
Yep.
It's from your experiences as I suppose your life as a whole, but particularly obviously there's a focus and the headline of The Boy Over the Wall in regard to the Hillsborough disaster. So I suppose maybe for Liverpool fans and maybe people of our generation, we know what that is, but just to quickly recap, unbelievably really now, 37 years ago, FA Cup semi-final, Liverpool against Forest. It was back in those, they used to, well, maybe they still play at neutral grounds, I suppose they don't really, do they? But it was a neutral ground at Hillsborough, and there was basically an issue which we'll get into the finer detail around crowd management, shall we say, and ended up a lot of crushing and people who sit and watch football now and sit down, a lot of that, well, that's because of that, and I suppose the other couple of incidents, or more than incidents, disasters that happened around that time. And you were at that game, and obviously got a really interesting story. So first of all, we'd obviously encourage people to go and buy the book, which is available where, Graeme?
It's available on Amazon.
Okay, and The Boy Over the Wall, so look that up. We'll touch on a bit today, obviously give the snippets to get people to go and buy it. And I know, Tim, you're a chunk of the way through it as well. I'm sure you'll testify to what a good read it is. So maybe just set the scene for us quickly before we, I suppose, start on that day to Sheffield. Growing up in Liverpool, what was life like for a wee Graeme?
Yeah, it was, as you can imagine, growing up under the Thatcher government in the 80s in Liverpool, it was difficult times in a rough and tumble place like Highton. It wasn't easy. I'm not going to lie, beat around the bush. But my mum and dad split up when I was 4 years old, and then just trying to get by daily and put food in the fridge and get by. It was difficult times, Yeah.
Without wishing to be, and we don't want to get into politics, but why, not necessarily Thatcher, but the time, the generation then, and because there's obviously been a lot of discord between, I suppose, the South ultimately, but the government and Liverpool. Where what's that like living in that, and talk a bit about that. About
the hardship?
Yeah.
It just didn't have any money pumped into it, Liverpool. It was she just left it, to rot, and it suffered with obviously lack of jobs and investment, and it was a tough place to grow up, and you had to fight. If you didn't stand up for yourself every day, and you'll just get turned over. So it was a rough environment, but you just grew up with it, and now every time I go back to Liverpool, I always go back to White, when I can visit. I love the place. Like, it's your home, isn't it? No matter where you grow up, it's always your home, isn't it?
Yeah. Does that help in some ways the community though, because you're all kind of fighting the same cause, or do you think it's the opposite effect where people are scrapping against each other?
It's quite strange, really. It's like if you're a part of it and you're growing up on it, you're out of community. But if anyone steps into that, then there's a clash, right. You know what I mean? But you've got to have each other's backs. It's the only way you're going to survive.
And obviously Liverpool and many cities are fans and families, they're often divided. Was your family blue, red? How did you
we would
fall on the red side?
We were all reds. My cousins, they were all blues. You red or blue. That's the way it is. There's no other thing. You're red or blue. That's it. Yeah. But lucky enough, I was a red because we did all right. Like the 80s.
Yeah. So we'll talk a bit about getting a ticket for this game. I presume you obviously went regularly to watch the Reds, and then how it came about to get a ticket for this game.
Yeah, so I was 13 at the time. I'd never been to an away match. I did used to go to all home games. On the 14th of April, the day before Hillsborough, me and my brother were playing football outside my mum's, lovely sunny evening. Remember it well. And a friend of the family, Alan Baker, turned up. He was like, all right, Alan, you know. And he goes inside. I thought, that's a bit weird, you know. Don't usually see Alan around here. And playing football for a bit, and then we went in, and we heard Alan talking to my mum, and there was a bit of a discussion going on. So we said, what's going on? And they said, Mum said, Alan's got a couple of spare tickets for the match tomorrow, but I don't want you going. I don't want you going to Sheffield, she said. I was like, please, Mum, it's the FA Cup semi-final. It's the biggest game of my life. I'd never been to a game like an FA Cup semi-final, so we just pleading with Mum, you know, don't worry, Mum, we'll be fine. And, you know, in the end, we got our way, but I don't know what... Mums just have that inkling, don't they? You know, mums know, don't they? So she had a bad feeling, something wasn't right, and yeah, I mean, who knew what was going to happen, you know?
Yeah. But I think just even like reading that bit in the book, and I was talking to my wife about it earlier, and just like saying, because my son's 10, and you kind of think, imagine just letting him, because again, you sort of think like the next day when he went off, he basically just went off around the corner, got the bus down to Anfield, and then boarded like the supporters bus from there. And you know, I kind of look at like my son now and think, oh, even as like a dad, like would I let Max like do that almost at that sort of age? But I suppose that's probably the times it was back then, wasn't it? In terms of, I know, like chatting to my brothers and sisters who are older than me, they'd be out all kind of day round, like cycling around where it was. So it was a lot, I suppose, more accepted then, wasn't it? Whereas you kind of read that now and think, oh, like I can understand why probably your mum just didn't want you to go just generally, let alone kind of what was then to come in the aftermath as well. I
mean, mum, she was quite an overprotective mum anyway, you know what I mean? She was always worried about us. But if we were playing football, you know, it was like in them days, like you say, there was no mobile phones, was there? So you go out playing, when the street lights come on, you go in. That was let's go back in. So yeah, that was the times. It was a different time. It seems like, you know, years ago now, like totally different world. But I guess it was in so many ways. And obviously, I'll talk about it in a bit. But like when we came out of Hillsborough, that just rectifies, you know. The no phones was a huge part of that day. It was just never seen out like it, like, you know.
And did your mum know? Because in terms of like the tickets were separate to the sort of friend of the family, Alan, weren't they? He was in a different part of the ground. So did your mum know at the time that the tickets were separate, or was it just, we got these tickets and it was only afterwards that you found out that they were, I suppose, in a different part, which obviously comes on to...
I mean, I guess, I don't know, because I didn't really speak to mum about that, but I guess it was because we were so far away. That was a worry, and you know, going across the Pennines, and you know, being so far away. But I mean, when we stood on the cop, it was me and my brother behind the goal, and you know, so we were used to that kind of thing. I mean, the cop was crazy as well when you look at it now, but yeah, I think that was the worry, just going so far and, you know, not being in touch kind of thing. I think that was the initial worry. Alan was in the main stand, so that meant that me and Paul would be in the Leppens Lane end on our own where everything happened. So, but yeah.
So you get on the supporters bus and head up with Alan. Talk us the sort of highlights of what was going on.
Yeah,
so everyone's buzzing, I'm sure, for the game.
Oh, it was unbelievable. So me and my brother got the bus and we met Alan at Anfield. So we went with the Liverpool Supporters Club and we met at the Shankly Gates. So just touching on it, so the back of the book, there's a picture of me at the Shankly Gates, and that's where I wanted to finish the book, because that's where the journey started. I wanted to finish the journey there too. But we got the bus. There was 2 buses laid on for us, and there was actually a buffet provided for us at Sheffield United's Bramall Lane. So we all headed up there first, singing songs on the coach. You know, the buzz was brilliant. Can't wait. And then we go for a lovely buffet, Bramall Lane, and I remember the barman at Bramall Lane said, "Come on, I'll take you out." And he opened the door and took us out onto the pitch at Bramall Lane and showed us. That was lovely, yeah, it was great. He was great. So I've always got a little soft spot for Sheffield United just for that like. And we got chatting to this guy. So this guy was a Sheffield United fan, and Alan said, "Look, I'm in the main stand. If you're going, would you mind like looking after the lads?" He said, and he was brilliant. He said, "Yeah, I'll look after the lads. Don't worry. I know the ground well. With being from Sheffield United, I've been there a few times." And he was on our coach, and he jumped on our coach from there, and he looked after us, thankfully enough. Just as well we met this guy, really, like, yeah.
So you go in the ground with him, and what kind of transpires from there?
Well,
again, we just to set the scene again, I suppose, so different from those days. There were, I guess, pens that were basically standing pens, basically, that you could go into. And I don't know whether you allocated a pen back in those days, or whether it's just here's an area of the ground, go and figure it out, boys.
Yeah, no. So the two main pens were pen 3 and 4. So it was up to you whether you went in left hand side or right hand side. But you're behind the goal. And I don't forget now that you had fencing at the front. So once you're in there, you can't get out. That's basically it. Unless you're going back out through the crowd, but there's that many people in there, good luck with that. So once we approach Hillsborough and we get outside the ground, we say our goodbyes to Alan. We agree to meet Alan. There's a little newsagent right next to the closest building to the turnstiles, and we agree to meet outside this newsagent after the game. And then me and my brother just kind of like looked at each other and we were like, what the hell is going on here? Because, when we went to Anfield, we were going to games there, it'd be single file of queues, everything lovely maintained, queuing up nicely, and this was just chaos. Like, you've never seen nothing like it. It was just like, we didn't say nothing, we didn't need to say nothing, it was just a look that we just looked at each other.
This is different.
Wow, what is going on here? So, no queues, just thousands of people, just a mass of people just trying to do the best to get in this ground. So we're with this guy, and then as soon as we get into the crowd, things start getting difficult and uncomfortable, and then you start getting broken up and pulled apart, and then you start to struggle and things are getting bad,
And this is outside the ground?
This is outside Hillsborough, yeah. And there was a police horse, and this, we always remember this police guy, like, thick moustache, right helmet on, and he was panicking. He was panicking. There was just no control. And the pressure, I mean, I'm really allergic to horses. Like, I can't even go past the horse on the prom. I have to put the window up in the car because I'm really allergic to horses. I've got asthma. Worst case scenario, I'm right next to this horse. Don't forget, I'm only 13. I'm only a young lad. Like,
they're big old things, aren't they?
Next minute, I'm underneath the horse, and I kid you not, that horse got lifted off the ground with the pressure of that's how bad the pressure was. Honestly, it was unbelievable. And there was a Liverpool fan. And you could see I was struggling. I was struggling to breathe, and things were getting quite bad now. And he's trying to... You can't even lift your arms, that's the pressure. So he's trying to... And he's shouting to everyone, this kid, we need to, like, this kid, and he's trying to force his arms to try and get people to make, like, a circle to get a bit of room. And he must have been one strong guy, because he just managed to get his arm up and just literally just threw me up like this. And all the Liverpool fans passed me over, all the crowd, to a wall, and there was a police officer over the wall, like the image on the book there. That basically sums it up, really. I mean, I digress, but 27 years later, when the inquest for Hillsborough, we finally got the third inquest, I found out when I was watching the evidence, the police officer was actually David Duckenfield. It was actually the match commander. That was the guy that I was handed to over the wall, which all that time I didn't know until I actually I was watching it, but I was meant to. I should come back to this, but I'll just quickly say I wanted to give evidence at the inquest, but I just wasn't strong enough. I have apologised to the families and stuff. But yeah, so I was taken over the wall, and then over the wall there was a police incident room, just like a portal cabin that you see on a building site kind of thing. That's all it was. And there was 2 police officers in there, a fellow and woman, and a little tiny black, excuse me, a little tiny black and white portable TV. Now that TV there was a camera outside looking down at the crowd, so I was literally in there with a cup of water seeing what was going on outside. Thinking, God, my brother's out there, this guy's still out there, I'm worrying about them, I'm trying to recuperate, get me breath back. And the policewoman goes, oh God, isn't it terrible out there? I think, well, why don't you get the hell out there and do something about it? Because like there's not many police officers out there and it's just chaos, do you know what I mean? So yeah, I thought, what a crazy thing to say, but so I've actually got me actual statements. We had to make statements after Hillsborough. Two police officers came to our house, separated us, and interviewed us. And I've got that now. And so it's got times on there. So I was lifted up at 20 minutes to 2:40, and then it says I was in the police incident room for 10 minutes. So it's now 10 to 3. So that's when the gentleman, sorry I don't know his name, he was looking after us, and my brother came into the cabin at the same time, which was funny enough. And then the tunnel is directly, well, this is the portal cabin door, and that is the tunnel that leads down the Levens Lane end. So we go straight down the tunnel, behind the goal. The players are on the pitch, warming up, getting ready to go, doing the prep, and yes, finally we're in. I've got my place. This is where we watch it on the carp. You feel, behind the net and that. And then this guy says, "No, you're not watching it." I went, "What? We're in. We're behind the goal. You can't get a better place than this. Like, this is where we always watch it. What do you mean?" He goes, "No, you're not watching it here. Trust me. Come with me, and you'll have a better place. There'll be more room, and you'll have a better view of the pitch." And I was like, "But we're in. We're here." I didn't want to move, but this guy was adamant. Like, I don't know what it was, but thank God, you lucky stars now that he did do that. So we come back out the tunnel. So don't forget, we went down there at 10 to. We comes back out the tunnel, turns right, and like you had to see it. It's not like you go to Match Today where you had signs and big huge letters, AB2 or something for where you sit like you take it. There was none of that. There was 2 ladies. One of them was knitting. This was the level of stewarding on the day. 2 old ladies, one of them knitting. And that was for the stairwell of where you should go. But you would have never known. You wouldn't have known. Or when you go through them turnstiles, all you see is that tunnel. You don't see nothing at the sides. There's no signs of anything. So this guy took us out, and then you go up the stairwell, and as we came back out, turned right, went down. You go past. God, that looks like it, doesn't it? You go past the gate. Duckenfield told him to open the gate with all the fans outside, and the gate was opened at 2:52. So if you can imagine that we went down the tunnel at 10:02, in there, did it back out. So we missed that gate by seconds, literally seconds. Without that guy being like so adamant, "No, you're not watching it here," there's just no chance we'd have survived that crush.
And just at that bit there, did you have that sense of, I suppose, relief? Because obviously you've almost probably your life's been saved at that point by the guy pulling you up and getting pulled over that wall. At that point, were you thinking, like, what were your thoughts? Were you like thinking relief that I've effectively survived, and then looking forward to the match then, unbeknownst to what was then going to come sort of 5 minutes later, and that
we didn't know.
Yeah, okay.
We didn't know that what had happened outside with the gate. So the match kicks off. That's what we're looking at. We're not watching the
crowd. Is
crowd.
everything almost normal then when the match, like for you? Is it almost like it's a relief of of surviving that kind of crush and then kind of going up and then thinking, right, the game's kicked off, and then that's it.
The first bit you could tell something was wrong with was when a fan made it over the fence, and he's running on the pitch, and he's going up to Brucey and he's shouting at Brucey, and Brucey's like, Brucey didn't have a clue what was going on, you know what I mean? But this guy's pleading that Brucey stop the game, you know, there's a crush in there. And the match is on with Pete Beardsley, it was, at the crossbar, you know, and then very quickly things start spiralling, and then
just for those that don't know, so I believe what happened was there were so many people around, they just opened what would be an exit gate, which then basically became an entry gate, and fans flooded in, and that's...
Yeah, so
when we talk about the gate earlier, that's the gate we're talking about.
Yeah, that's scaring me, that.
The sheet.
So the match commander, instead of delaying the kick-off, putting the kick-off time back and just making sure everyone gets in safely, he panicked and gave the go-ahead to open the gate, and everyone just went down the tunnel because that's where the tunnel was. That was the obvious place to go. So thousands of people just rushed down that tunnel, and then
bang.
Yeah.
So the it's horrific, really, isn't it? Well, talk a bit about, like, he's talking to Brucey, does the ref come over? What happens, and how does the following...
Yeah,
certainly, and obviously you're a young kid here observing this. You know, what's going through your mind? Are you happy to talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's only really the last couple of years of actually being able to talk about it through writing, with the book, but so there's a few more people managed to get over now, and word gets to the referee, someone runs on, tells the referee what's going on, 6 minutes past 3, he blows the whistle and calls the players off the pitch, and that was that. And then it just gets worse, it just keeps getting worse, and you're seeing stuff that you don't want to see, like, so there was a lot of, like, people getting heart massage and stuff like that, and obviously crushed and stuff. So
the gentleman you're with, so that's obviously a big part of your story here, is that the gentleman from Bramall Lane, you don't know who he is, do you? We're 37 years on now. So in the aftermath, did he take you out the ground? How did that play out?
Yeah, so we're in there a fair while, like, you know, just while this all unfolds. Just waiting to see what, I don't know, to be honest. Everyone's just standing there, but I guess in disbelief is what's going on. And obviously a tannoy announcement eventually comes on, say matches abandoned, blah blah blah. And then eventually, after all this has gone on, we goes back outside to where we agreed to meet, at the newsagents. He takes us there and waits with us there for Alan. Now Alan can't find us, so he's already been to the newsagents, and he's gone right. So where we parked in the coaches, the top of Halifax Road, it's a good half mile away from where we were. So he's gone up to the coaches to see if we've gone back to the coach, and he can't find us. So you can imagine, Alan, like, and he's going everywhere trying to find us, and he just literally lost his mind. Like, he's really struggled with Hillsborough. I hope he doesn't, you know, I'm sure he won't mind me saying, he had a breakdown in work and left work, but he's doing good now. He's doing good with he's had therapy through the HSA for Liverpool and stuff. So we eventually met up at the newsagents. Wow, thank God. And then said our goodbyes to this guy, and that was the last time we ever saw him. But then, what I was saying before about the mobile phones, like, you didn't, honestly, it was like something off a movie. Honestly, you never seen it. I didn't like it. So when we're slowly walking back up to the coach now, like, what's going on here? So you got all the houses, like housing estate, yeah? And then there'd be like 200 people in a row standing at people's houses, and then you'd have people like crying their eyes out and banging on people's doors, begging. And what was happening, they were knocking to ask the people if they could use the phone to ring home to tell the loved ones that they were still alive. It was just, honestly, you never see nothing like it. But to them people that did open the door and did let the people use the phone, you know, I want to take this opportunity to thank them, because what a thing to do, you know. But we didn't do that. We just got back to the coach, and there was gaps on the coach as well. So you're always wondering, like, you know, what happened there, like. But we made it back safely, and yeah.
I appreciate that. It's probably not always amazing revisiting this, whether you've had a bit of therapy to help you with or not, so we appreciate you talking about it. The aftermath, like Liverpool in the days and weeks after, obviously there's a lot of trauma going on. Again, bringing a city that is pretty close, although it's divided at times with the football close together. What's your memories of that over the following weeks?
Well, it was a bit crazy, because that evening when we got back home, like, my mum was obviously giving mum a big hug ever, and then there was all neighbours coming to the house, and mum was talking to them. And as we go inside, my brother puts the TV on, and I can't remember if it was the 9 o'clock news or the 10 o'clock news. It was just starting. Obviously, it was headline news, and then there I am on the news. It's like being passed over the fans. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what's going on here? And then obviously them pictures were beamed all over the world on all the news groups. And then on the Monday, you go back to school on the Monday. You go back to school as normal on the Monday, and then you think everything's going to be okay, and then things aren't okay, but you don't realise that. And then when I went back to the school on the Monday, about 200 kids came running up to me. Oh, Panny's famous. And I hated it. It was the worst thing I wanted. I just wanted to, you know. Yeah, and then I remember getting in class, and the teacher's doing the registration, calling out the names, Bartland, Banfield, and I've just got my head in my hands, just crying my eyes out, like. And she goes to me, Graeme, do you want to skip assembly today? Do you want to skip assembly? I wouldn't mind, like, you know. And then that was it. That was my metal
your space
support in school. I got to miss assembly.
And it says in the book that was at that point. Then you were effectively a boy that was almost expected to be like a man, but you were, I suppose, still a boy. So do you mind just explaining that a little bit as well? And
I mean, it's just like we were saying about a different time. It was like that, chin up, little boy, you know, you'll be fine, you know. People worse off, people that didn't come back, kind of thing, you know. And yeah, so the therapy I've recently had, the one-to-one therapy on the Isle of Man. I had that for 2 years, and it's good to a certain point, because it has got me to a certain point. And Harry was absolutely fantastic. He does amazing work, by the way. But it only goes so far. But like I say, I have got this other therapy now, which is going to delve deeper, and I am gonna beat this. You know, I'm 2 fit. I call it a Hillsborough mountain, so it's like Everest. I'm 2/3 of the way up, I think now, but I will get to the top of it. I'm sure of that.
So can I talk about then from that sort of day 13 to age 13 onwards? Do you just put it in a box, or try to? Is probably a better expression, because you've got now. Did you talk as the years go past about it? It was just, it's in a box over here.
I was so naive. It wasn't until Harry actually, I had to write about on the counselling sessions about stuff that had affected me in my life, and there was I'd done an A4 page, and there was 14 pages, And it wasn't until Harry got a pen and he joined the dots, I was like, I couldn't believe that I hadn't seen it all along. So what happened to me after Hillsborough, things started going wrong. So like my schooling was deteriorating, my behaviours were deteriorating, and it wasn't until Harry joined up the dots that I was like, oh my God, the penny dropped. I can't believe it. I don't know why I didn't see it all after all these years.
Yeah, so when you're in it, you don't, do you?
But I got kicked out of school. I went into a foster home, and I hate myself for that, because I put my mum through it, you know.
No, you didn't.
But
the circumstances.
Yeah, but I just, you know, like it wasn't anything that my mum done. So like people usually going through a bad home or usually difficult things, but I just found it was difficult being me. You know, I was just struggling being me, and
it's funny though when you say about connecting the dots as an observer, and met an hour ago, you not seeing those connecting those dots, but you know, when you perhaps start misbehaving and kicking out, like let's all adults around you aren't connecting the dots and going, yeah, maybe there's some trauma here we need to think about, and this is why he's behaving this way.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think that's on you.
Yeah, I mean, and I know now, just through my daughter's school and mental health in school now, it's come such a long way, thank God. You know, it'll never happen again. The people, you know, kids like that, the support network now in schools is unbelievable. But yeah, thank God, really. Was
there in your life, and if you're happy to talk about, was there a point where, let's call it a break point, where you go, I need to get some help here?
It was actually, I'll be honest with you, it was actually a judge. It was a judge that actually picked up on it in the Isle of Man courts. So I've had a pattern in my life that he picked up on with my record, things I've been... I'm not a bad person, don't get me wrong, but I have done stupid things in my life, do you know? And he looked at my record, and, you know, I thank this guy now. There was a pattern to my behaviour that came out when I drank. And he said to me in court, he said, Graeme, is there anything in your life that hasn't been addressed? And I said, there is actually, yeah. So he put me on a 2-year probation. That's why I had a 2-year, and I had to attend these psychotherapy sessions, or I went to prison, basically, that was it. But I wanted to do the sessions because no one had ever given me therapy. You know, no one ever knocked on my door and said, oh, are you okay yet? You know, I think we need to have a chat, kind of thing. It never happened, and it didn't happen with a lot of people that were at Hillsborough, you know, and it should have happened, you know. It's only now, this HSA and the funding, as I say, through Liverpool Football Club and the Premier League, it's only been happening in the last 3 years. You think it's 37 years, you know, it took far too long for this to happen, really.
Yeah. And I think the positive to that is, even if you look at, like, after Paris, for example, Liverpool were in Champions League final, and there was nothing to the extent of Hillsborough, but
yeah.
I suppose there was incidents after the ground and before the ground, and I suppose crushing, etc. Almost like straight away then the club were very much like, if you were here, basically come to the club now and speak, because there's counselling that's going to be put on for you and like that. Whereas obviously it seems in your situation that probably took like 34 years for that to even happen, really.
They did have these Hillsborough disaster like shops that they were. I remember being in Liverpool and seeing these things. Like, what are they? What, you know? I think there were places where you could go and you could talk to someone that was there and you could speak that way, but there was nothing like, you know, proper counsellors sessions as they were proper counsellors. Like, you get proper help, you know.
Yeah. You've got, again, as someone listening, you've got probably every reason to be, and obviously we all learn it's 1989. It was a different world, wasn't it? But I don't think you've got a lot of. I don't think there's much blame to lay on your doorstep, even for whatever patterns you created later in your life. It's clearly related to that era. So maybe just to talk, we'll just talk a little bit about obviously. Again, I'm sure a lot of people know, but there was a lot of, at the time, press and criticism of Liverpool fans, and blame was laid there, and that case that went on for 25 years, hopefully, And is it Duckworth, the name you mentioned? He was the head police guy.
Field.
Yeah, who and obviously they made a number of mistakes that day. So you mentioned there you said you struggled to talk or represent or be at the court case for HSA. But were you involved in the? Did you go? I wouldn't know. I assume that almost as like a committee. Were you involved with Did you speak to them? Or
No,
were you, no,
I didn't. That was the problem. Me and my brother never spoke about Hillsborough. I used to attend all the memorials every year at Anfield. I used to go to them, but just didn't talk. I think it was 20 years later, I went with my brother to a memorial, and I plucked up the courage then. I remember we were just outside Anfield about to go in, and I just turned around and said to him, "How did you get in?" I didn't even know how he got in. I thought he got passed over the fans with me. He said, "I went through the turnstile." I said, "No, I couldn't believe it was that bad outside there. I couldn't even believe that he got through the turnstile. I don't know how he managed to do it." I was like, "No way, you got through that turnstile?" He said, "Yeah, I went through the turnstile." So it just shows you how much we don't talk, for the 20 years to the day that I plucked up the courage to see how we got in.
So just in that, because obviously, I suppose talks about that journey with you and your brother from the first chapter, basically. So did you literally never speak to your brother about what happened? So after it kind of happened, you obviously went through this experience literally together. He obviously probably saw you under the horse, and obviously then in the sense you never talked about it.
He still doesn't like talking about it now. Huh. And I'm getting help. I do want to, beat this, but he's just totally closed off to the whole. And that's his way of dealing with it. He's got other ways of dealing with his stuff, but. He doesn't want to talk. He doesn't want to talk, and I can't force him. I would love to get him, on this HSA, because there's some amazing people there. But I can't force him.
And generally, speak for him, he's doing okay. Your brother?
I wish he was doing better. Right. Yeah, I mean, he's been through a lot. He's been through a lot as well. I mean, he lost his son. Yeah, he's lost his mum. He's at Hillsborough. He's had more than the fair share, the fair guy. You know what I mean? But
is there a little bit more conversation now with, obviously, going through therapy, and I would assume people around you are seeing a change in you. Do you then? Is there a conversation with you and him about that, or just again, it's still not really something you talk about?
I've started talking to him and showing him pictures, because I've just come back last week from Liverpool with meeting with the HSA, and obviously I was at the memorial on the 15th of April, just gone, with all the survivors, and we had a service on the cop, and it was amazing that, and my therapist Val was really worried, and she put little things in place for me to protect myself, would you believe, on the day, just talking about husband with these people. But it was the opposite. I found that being with the survivors, it was amazing. Honestly, it was just, the way you just these people understand you, and you've got this connection. And we're like family now. We're all in touch on WhatsApp, and we stay in touch nearly on a daily basis. We message, and so I found comfort in that, and we just help each other. I think it's been amazing, really.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So, again, just to reiterate, obviously the book, which is behind me here, obviously we just really had a snapshot here. You can kind of feel I can feel
I know what you mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So the book came about through my therapy with Harry. So the 2-year programme, so a year into the programme, Harry said to me, Graeme, he said, "Do you think you could write about stuff that's happened to you in your life that's affected you, not just Hillsborough, other stuff growing up?" And I said, "Yeah, I can do that." Easy. I can do that, no problem, I'll do that. So, like I said, there was 14 different things, and it didn't have to be us. It could be, he said, anything that's had a detrimental effect on your mental health. I want you to put a time frame on it, write about how it affected you, and will you come back? And I said, yeah, I can do that. And I went home, got a pen and paper, sat down, and could I write anything? Not that I couldn't think about what to write. It was just an emotion that I'd never tapped into, writing. I couldn't believe how powerful writing is. It's unbelievable. Writing's unbelievable. And I'd say to anyone now, if anyone's been through counselling, because it doesn't work for everyone, counselling, does it? But I would say to anyone now, give writing a go. Get a pen and paper and write down what's happened to you. And if it just works for one person, honestly, I found it was unbelievable, because you've got this thing on a piece of paper that's happened to you, but you can just scrunch it up. You know, you can photocopy it, you can rip it up, you can stand on it, set it on fire if you want. It's amazing, honestly. It's so powerful. And I went back to Harry with these 14 sheets of A4. Like, no one's ever gone into this detail. This is unbelievable. I was like, yeah, I know. And I was like, well, I can't believe it either, really, because I was like, when I was growing up, when I was a kid at school, I'm still quite dyslexic now. Like, there's some 4-letter words that I can't see the word. I still struggle with spelling. I've always have done. But I got a laptop out. When I bought a laptop, didn't even have a laptop. I started typing, and once I started typing, I just couldn't stop, and this thing just came out of me. And I found, like, 3 months down the line, I'd done like 46,000 words.
Wow.
And I'd never done that in my whole school. 46,000 words, you know what I mean?
And could you feel, as you were writing, say, like a weight lifting off your shoulder? Was it that kind of, as you were almost writing, was it that
was unbelievable.
of actually this is this process that I'm now starting to go through? Or was it almost once you finished and reflected back, was that when you...
Now it got all this emotion and this story out of me, like I say, not just about Hillsborough, but the book literally starts on day one. There's a story even with my birth. So that's where the story starts. And I just, as soon as I'd got it out and it was there, I could then talk, and I couldn't believe it. I also used to have really bad tremors, like nightmares with Hillsborough all that time. And the worst, they're the worst part, was the nightmares. You wake up with this feeling that I can't explain, and this cold sweat, and honestly it's your worst nightmare. But they stopped. I haven't had one since. Just with getting this writing, and I found I could talk now. I can talk about Hillsborough. But once that happened as well, I got angry. I got really angry with myself then as well, because I was like, you know, I've let Hillsborough beat me. I should have given evidence at that trial. And I should have claimed damages. I didn't even claim damages. So I was angry for that as well. I was like, I want to sue these people. You know, you know, that's the blame, and they've accepted blame now. But I wish I would have done things different with that, and had the strength to go and stand in the dock and say what I wanted to say.
And there seems to be, and again, it's easy for me just to say this, having read it, but it's easy for me. Sorry, it seems like there's a lot of guilt put on you as well, in terms of, I think you mentioned it later in the book, that you just felt guilty along with that kind of anger. So is that almost because you felt you didn't come forward sooner, or was it just the whole kind of the emotion that's probably, I suppose boiled over?
Look, I was at a memorial at Anfield one year, and I went to one of the pubs outside Anfield, and there was some family members in there. And I got a bit upset, I'm not going to lie, and I went up and said to this gentleman, he lost his brother at Hillsborough, and I apologised to him for not being able to give evidence, because, you know, I feel that I had evidence to give that could have helped the inquiry, but these people lost their family members, and, you know, if you haven't, I felt like I hadn't done my bit, so I'd let them down, you know, so... That was the guilt, you know. I have spoken to survivors through the HSA, and a lot of them have got, it's called survivor's guilt, because they survived and a lot of people didn't. Now, I've never had that, thankfully. I don't know why I've never had that. But I do have the other side of the guilt, like I say, with not giving evidence and doing my bit for the families that way. So.
Yeah, and I guess the therapy's helping you work through that too.
Yeah, so we're going to start this, I think it's called EMDR therapy, that we're building up to, which is starting on Wednesday, which absolutely petrified, I'm not going to lie. But it's meant to be unbelievable. Like its succession rate, like I say, it was brought out for vets of the Vietnam War, but it's meant to be unbelievable. It's basically like a remote control, and in your mind you press the button and you go back to that day and you feel all the sounds and the smells and everything. But at the end of it, you snap out of it, and it's a lot of people. I'm gonna say cured. Like they've climbed that mountain at the peak. Like but you've got to go deep into, and that's where we're at on Wednesday. So
fair play for facing it. Two quick things to finish off for me. One, also shocking news that your favourite pub's the Heron.
My favourite pub's the Heron.
Is that right?
Mentions that in the book.
Does it?
Is it the Heron? Yeah. We used to go to the Heron quite a lot. Yeah.
Oh, we used to go to the Heron. It's not now. Jackson's my favourite pub now.
That's okay. That's all right. Anyway. Not that Heron's all right. I know the Liverpool Sports Club used to meet there quite a lot anyway. So
back in the day we used to go there, and that was a long time when I used to play football and St Mary's and all that. But no, Jack's is the one for me now.
Yeah, and the other thing for me, just to finish off, I obviously listen to you, and you're going through your own journey at the moment with the therapy, but just listening to you, and obviously a male as well, being able to talk about mental health and being an ambassador for that. For me, I see a calling. I appreciate you working through your own things at the moment, but to be able to write the book, sit here and talk about therapy, talk about your own challenges, it's impressive. I think you make a very good, I'm sure you've got enough on your plate, but a very good spokesperson for that, and maybe helping younger people speak up and not bottle up, especially males who struggle, I think, more. Maybe that's controversial to say, but I think us males tend to shut down more.
Definitely do. And if anyone wants to come and talk with me about mental health, I'll give you my time, or any day of the week. Don't worry about that.
Very good.
I think just for my side as well, it's just like, obviously I think I mentioned earlier, but I saw the article in the local newspaper about your story, and just thought, I'll get the book. Just become a Liverpool fan, and obviously there's that interest in Hillsborough, and you mentioned it, I think, at the back, and you've mentioned it earlier now, that you wouldn't say that you're a writer, you wouldn't say that you're, I mean, that wouldn't be, say, your calling in that regard. And think, I read the first chapter, and I might have said to Martin, I was just like, it's literally like his life story. And I was like, and you kind of read it, and I'm like, but the way you kind of engage what's happened in your life, not just at Hillsborough, I think it's just so powerful. Like, I was reading it this morning, almost just like welling up in terms of just the way you've written that. It really does bring you into that. So it's just like encouraging people to, if you can, buy it, read it, because I think, as you say, going on to from that mental health perspective, you've been through, like, going through that book, like, so much, and almost to see, just having a conversation with you now, just to see how you've come through that other end, it's incredible and extremely admirable in that regard. I mean, in the book, it talks about grief, it talks about what you went through at Hillsborough, it talks about like relationship breakdowns and etc. And I think to actually come through and be able to talk about it so openly now, it's both in the book but also with others as well, I think is a testament to people that might be struggling, that if you can speak to people, if you can write, if you can pick up a pen and just jot down some notes, then I suppose you're that kind of walking example of someone that, but isn't fixed. You say you're going up the Hillsborough Everest mountain, I think you said earlier you're 2/3 up, but it shows and hopefully gives encouragement to other people that are watching that you are, I suppose, an example of that, and how you can get through the other side.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who's going through mental health problems now, I know there'll be people watching who are going through a tough time. You don't have to be at something as big as Hillsborough, or you might have lost a loved one, like you say, break up a relationship, you might have problems with drugs, or you might be in debt. But if you're now at that place where I was, where and you're struggling with depression, and you're at the bottom of that pit, trust me, I've been down there, and I know what it's like. And I was down there for 6 weeks at the bottom of that pit. And don't do what I done. Just please read the book, because this is temporary, and you will get through it. And trust me, you'll smell the roses and enjoy the sunshine, and So yeah, just don't do what I did. Yeah.
Good way to end it. Thank you, Graeme.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tim. Up the Reds.
Up the Reds.
It's a word out from Martin.
Great out from Tim.
Poor flimsy humans. Don't you wish you were flawless like me? A towering inferno of physical perfection?
I hate to pop your blimp-like ego, but you're not perfect.